They expected rage, they expected fire, but humanity gave them silence. The last message Earth ever sent to the Galactic Council was just 5 words. "We're done talking is over, no threats, no war declaration, just that." And then nothing, no more transmissions, no more ambassadors. No movement from Earth's colonies, just complete radio silence at first. The galaxy was confused, then they became afraid, because when humans stop talking, it usually means they're preparing the Varn Dominion had led the peace talks. They believed humans could be reasoned with. They thought they had control, but the talks collapsed. No one really knows why, some say the Varn demanded. Earth's weapons, others say they insulted something sacred. Whatever it was, the humans stood up, said nothing, and walked out. No shouting, no threats. Just silence, and then Earth disappeared, not physically, but from every known signal channel. The Council tried to reach them, no response. Satellites showed. Earth's systems, still active power grids, internet transports, all running, but no one answered that silence. It was louder than any war. Chrysom believed it was weakness, that humans had given up. Others knew better. Admiral Karth of the Talari fleet watched the feed from Earth. He leaned back, his eyes cold. "They're not gone," he said. "They're waiting at..." Varn operatives stationed secretly on Earth had sent one final message before going dark. His voice had been shaking. "They're not angry," he whispered. "They're calm, focused, like they've already accepted what's coming." Then, static. No one heard from him again. The Council gathered 13 species each, more advanced than the next. They debated humanity's silence for hours. Some wanted to send ships, others said, "Leave Earth alone." In the last 200 years, humanity had fought 7 wars, lost 2 planets, and still came back stronger each time. Their enemies disappeared one by one, not because humans destroyed them, but because humans changed the game. They learned, they adapted, and they remembered the silence was not just cameras, just eyes. What they found was not destruction, but order satellites, moving in new formations. Low orbit platforms gone, as if they'd been. Absorbed cities looked peaceful, lights on, no traffic, no people, clean maintained. But no life signals, and then just before the ship turned back, they picked up a faint signal, not a message, not a call, a tone repeating. Every 23 minutes, simple, cold, mechanical, like a timer back at the Council Hall. The debate turned into panic. Should we act first? Someone asked, should we apologize? Another said, but the truth was, no one knew. It carried no weapons, no message, just one engraving on its hull, _you wanted. The Council stared at the words. No one spoke. Even the Varn fell quiet, because now silence had a meaning, and that meaning was war. Not with noise, not with destruction, but with precision, with memory, with patience. Earth was no longer trying to be understood. It was preparing to be remembered, not as victims, not as diplomats, but as the species that warned the galaxy and then went silent. The silence didn't fade. It grew 1 week past, then 2, then a full galactic cycle, still nothing from Earth. No signal, no ship traffic, no broadcasts from any human colony. It was like a shadow had fallen over the species, but the shadow wasn't over them. It was over everyone else, because the question remained, what are the humans doing, and why are they so quiet? The Galactic Council gathered again this time. They weren't arguing, they were whispering. Fear has a sound. And it's very quiet. The Varn Dominion was the most vocal. Again, they called for surveillance, investigation, maybe even a warning strike, but no one moved. And watched the Council. Approved a covert recon mission, small, fast, and silent. The ship was called Whisperfall, its mission, to fly near Earth scan without contact. And return unseen. What they saw shocked them. Earth's orbit was clean. To clean old satellites, gone debris fields, gone everything looked refreshed, but no new structures, no war fleets, no megastructures or defense. Rings, just an empty, perfect silence from space. The planet looked calm, green, blue, alive, but the scans said something else. Population readings were strange. There were energy signatures, but they didn't move. They didn't act like cities. It was like Earth had become a machine still. You might wake the part that's not sleeping, but one drone was. Scented entered Earth's atmosphere. It flew low over old cities. No people, no vehicles, no noise. But everything worked. Streetlights turned on at dusk. Trash collection happened on time. Fountains flowed. The world was functioning without humans. Then the drone picked up a signal. Not radio, not laser, just heat. Just gone. No trace on sensors, no explosion, no error. One moment it existed, the next it didn't. The Whisperfall pulled back immediately. Their data was clear. Earth was not asleep. Earth was watching back at the council. Humanity had built something deep, something hidden, and they told us what would happen if we crossed. Still calling it a bluff, still mocking the silence, but mockery is loud and fear hates loud things. Soon outer colonies near human space began shutting down trade ships, stopped going near soul maps, were redrawn with new warning zones. One trader called it the Dark Circle, an invisible line around Earth, cross it and vanish. That phrase spread fast, the dark circle where the galaxy ends and something older begins. What made it worse was the stillness. No attacks, no fleet movements, no threats, just one by one, aliens stopped talking about Earth because every time they did, something strange happened. A probe lost a satellite, blinded a ship delayed. It was like the silence could hear them, and still Earth said nothing. No voice, no anger, just the long, heavy sound of a species that had decided. It didn't owe anyone anything. Not anymore. They couldn't ignore it anymore. The fear had turned into obsession. The silence from Earth wasn't fading. It was spreading one by one. Human colonies across nearby systems stopped responding. Some powered down completely, others just went dark. No ships left their orbits. No answers came from messages. But sensors showed something strange activity underground, always underground. The council made a decision. Not everyone agreed, but the fear was too strong to ignore. A team would be sent to Earth, not just to observe this time, to land, to explore, to understand. They called it a diplomatic visit, but everyone knew what it really was, a search for answers or a warning before. War 5 species, 12 elite agents, each one trained in diplomacy, tactics, and survival. Their ship entered Earth's orbit in complete silence. No challenge, no signal, just an empty channel. The planet looked perfect. To perfect, they chose to land near Old New York, once a human megacity. Now a place of perfect stillness. The buildings stood clean bright, but no one was there. Cars lined the streets, but none moved. Parks were green. Fountains running, birds chirped, but no humans. It felt like walking through a memory. Not a living city. The team spread out, scanning buildings, looking for signs of life. Doors opened, lights turned on, sensors responded to their presence, but there were no people, no voices, no warmth, just systems running. One of the team, a Crolian analyst, found something strange, a sealed elevator. Leading far below the city, it required no code. It opened. The moment he stepped close, they debated. Some wanted to stay above ground, but the fear of leaving without answers pushed them down. The elevator descended for 10 full minutes, deeper than any known structure. Then it opened, a chamber bright white, clean at the center, a single console. No guards, no AI drones, just silence. One of the team, a Varn scientist, approached the console. The screen lit up, and a voice began to speak, not mechanical, not human, something between Welcome to Echo Prime. The team froze. The voice continued, "This is not a warning, this is a record." They listened. The voice told them about Earth, about the history, the wars, the losses, about the peace talks, and how humanity had offered everything, but was met with arrogance, with demands, with betrayal. So they chose silence, not as surrender, but as focus. "We will not shout, we will not beg, we will not warn again." Then the screen shifted. Thousands of lines of code, blueprints, strategies, weapons never seen before, and then a name, Sentinels. The team leader stepped forward. "What are Sentinels?" he asked aloud. Voice answered, "They are what we become when diplomacy fails, when silence is our answer, and memory becomes our weapon." Suddenly the lights flickered, the chamber dimmed, a wall opened behind them. Inside, a single figure stood, not a robot, not a human, but something in between, tall, silent, motionless. Its eyes glowed faint blue, then a soft voice came from it, "You are not in danger. Unless you brought it with you." The team froze. "No." One spoke. The sentinel didn't move, just watched, then the lights returned. The console shut down, the elevator opened again, a clear, silent message, "You've seen enough." They returned to orbit, shaken. What they found wasn't an abandoned world, it was a waiting one. The council reviewed the report. Some still denied what they saw, others began preparing for war, but a few, just a few, began to understand Earth was not silent, it was speaking, in the only language that matters: action now. It was the galaxy's move asterisk. The ship carrying the recon team left Earth's orbit, but the silence followed them. Even after they jumped to FTL, even after they reached council space, no one on board spoke for hours. Something had changed in them, something deep, not just fear. Understanding Earth wasn't abandoned, it had evolved, and the Sentinels, whatever they were, weren't weapons, they were a response. The recon logs were transmitted to the Galactic Council, every word, every scan, every image. Leaders gathered, but no one interrupted the playback. Not this time. They watched the elevator descend. They heard the voice of Echo Prime. They saw the Sentinel, and for once, no one laughed at humanity when the playback ended. Ambassador Trexadevarn leaned forward. There are only two options now. He said strike first or surrender, but the others didn't agree. The Telari, the Icorn, they didn't want war. They wanted answers. The recon team had seen one thing, but Earth was massive and still full of mysteries. So a second mission was approved this time. No soldiers, no diplomats, just historians, archivists, truth seekers. Their ship landed not in a city, but in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. A strange island had appeared. One that didn't exist on any galactic maps. No vegetation. No animals, just one tower, black smooth tall. The team called it the Archive inside. They found walls covered in holograms, floating memories, voices from the past. Each room showed a different moment, human first contact. With alien life, the first betrayals, the peace offerings, and the rejections in one chamber. They saw the moment Earth made its final broadcast. A woman stood in front of a global audience. Her voice clear, calm, not angry. Just tired, we gave you our best. You gave us conditions, we offered peace. You measured its value in weapons. Her final words echoed through the chamber. So we are leaving not space, but you the feed, ended one of the sorry historians fell to his knees, not from fear, but shame. The deeper they went into the archive, the more they saw. Earth had warned the galaxy again and again, through treaties, through aid, through restraint, and every time the galaxy asked for more weapons, more control, more submission, until Earth gave none. That was their true silence, not absence. But refusal. The last room in the archive held a single chair facing a screen. When one of the team sat the screen, turned on a voice, spoke again. This is not a threat. This is a mirror. Then images appeared, wars started by other species. Empires built on broken promises, planets burned in the name of security. The mirror Earth showed was the truth. The galaxy wasn't afraid of humanity. It was afraid of being exposed. Because the archive wasn't just for warning, it was for remembering everything Earth had recorded, every insult, every deception, every broken deal. And now it remembered not to punish, but to prepare. The historians returned with the archive's data. They gave it to every species. Some denied it, some buried it, but others. They began to listen. The silence had become a story. And that story couldn't be ignored anymore, because Earth hadn't disappeared. It had pulled away to become something more to watch, to build, to remember, and one message. Played every hour, the same voice, the same tone. We are not angry. We are not afraid. We are just done. Just done. They called them Sentinels, but no one really knew what they were. Not even the Council. Not even Earth's closest allies, the recon team, had seen one. Tall, silent, unmoving, but what they didn't know was that Earth had built hundreds, maybe thousands. Not for battle, not at first, but for balance, for protection. They weren't machines. They weren't soldiers, they were watchers, and now they were waking across human space on silent moons. Beneath frozen oceans, inside long-forgotten stations, the Sentinels rose. No alarms, no declarations, just quiet, powerful movement. Some glowed with soft blue, others with deep red, all of them connected. All of them aware, but no one knew why the Council panicked. They called for emergency meetings. Was this retaliation, or defense, or something worse? Ships were moved, fleets realigned, wormholes watched, but Earth still said nothing, not a single message, until one day a signal appeared, not from Earth, but from deep space, uncharted territory, a planet without a name, with one structure, a beacon, and around it, 3 Sentinels, standing. A Council scout ship approached. Cautiously, weapons cold, the Sentinels didn't move, didn't threaten, didn't speak until the ship tried to scan the beacon. Then one Sentinel raised its hand. The scout ship shut down instantly, not destroyed, just silenced, like Earth had been. One of the Sentinels turned toward the ship, and a voice filled the crew's minds. You seek to control, we remember. The ship was released, power returned, and a path was opened through the stars, a series of signals leading to coordinates 6 points each on the edge of different systems. All connected, a hex around Earth space. The Council was split. Some saw it as a challenge, a border. Others saw something deeper, a warning. But not of attack, of preparation. One Icorn scientist spoke quietly. There's no aggression here, only precision, because the Sentinels weren't moving toward war. They were stabilizing the silence, holding it like a dam. Holds water if broken, the flood would come, and no one knew what would survive if a message was sent to Earth. A simple one. We see the Sentinels. Do you see us? No reply, but something changed on every world where a Sentinel stood. A structure appeared, black, smooth, silent, a second archive. But these were not about the past. They were about the future. Inside each, a prediction of what would happen. If certain choices were made, if war started, if peace failed, if trust was broken again, and the accuracy was terrifying. Down to names, times fleets, as if Earth wasn't just remembering, but watching real-time. One Talari commander read the file with his own death. Described exactly. He retired the next day. Across the galaxy, minds began to shift. The silence wasn't ignorance, it was control, a way to step back and let the truth unfold, not as revenge, but as reflection. Were not weapons, they were boundaries, holding back a force no one understood, maybe even Earth itself, because when diplomacy failed and war was ignored, silence was all that remained, and now it was alive, the galaxy had seen. Many wars it had seen, empires rise, fall, and return in different names, but it had never seen this. Silence with structure, silence with strength, silence that listened but never replied. Earth had become more than a planet. It was now a presence, felt not seen, but the silence wasn't empty. It had started to echo across systems. Old satellites began to power on moons long forgotten. Messages played, not warnings, not threats, just voices, human voices, soft, real-like memories drifting through space. One message played on the edge of the Darek's belt, a child speaking, his voice gentle, unsure. They said we were too loud, too young, too fast, so we stopped, but we never stopped watching. Another echoed from a binary star, a woman, older, wise. You laughed at our peace, you measured our silence. As weakness, you forgot that even a whisper has power when it carries truth. These echoes weren't sent recently, they were buried long ago. Set to release only when silence had lasted. Earth wasn't responding, it was revealing. Piece by piece, memory by memory, they weren't just avoiding contact, they were shaping it from a distance. Some believed Earth had turned inward, but others started to believe something else. That Earth had gone somewhere beyond the mapped stars, beyond the Council's reach, and what they left behind were echoes, reminders not just of pain, but of what could have been. A young Talari scientist named Reuven became obsessed. He collected the echoes, sorted them, studied the patterns, and one day he found something hidden, a location not marked on any star chart, a place mentioned only once. In a whisper from a dying station, Echo Prime. Last light before the dark. He convinced his team to follow. They traveled beyond Council. Space through a stretch of dead systems, no light, no heat, no reason to be there, until suddenly they saw it, a sphere, massive, glowing faint blue, inside a structure like a city, floating in the dark, and at the center a single human, or what looked like one. They hailed it. No answer. They tried again. Nothing. But when they approached, a single word appeared on their ship's screen: listen. And then the ship's systems shut down. No lights, no engines, no gravity, but they weren't afraid. Instead, they heard voices from across time, laughter, crying speeches, songs, the history of a world, carried not by technology, but by will, by choice. Earth had chosen not to disappear, but to become memory, to let its voice live in echoes, not to shout, but to wait until someone was ready to listen. The systems came back, the crew sat in silence. Changed. They didn't need orders. They didn't need answers. They had felt something, not just power, but truth. And truth was louder than war. When they returned, they told no one what they saw, only this: the silence isn't empty, it's sacred, and when you're ready it speaks. The Council didn't understand. Not yet, but across the stars more echoes began to play, not warnings, not fear, but invitations. To remember, to reflect, to change, and slowly the galaxy began to listen, to listen. It began like any other cycle stars, rising fleets moving, council meetings full of old arguments, but something felt different. The Sentinels stopped moving. Every single one froze, not powered off, just waiting on. A dozen planets across council space, the sky shimmered, not with ships, but with light. Golden calm, steady, no attacks, no invasions, just presence. And then, across every known frequency, across every language, a voice returned, familiar, human, clear. You feared our silence, but you never asked why it began. The council froze. Civilizations paused, because this was Earth speaking at last. The voice continued, "We came to you. In trust, you answered. In doubt, we offered peace. You measured it with weapons. So we chose distance, not out of hate, but to give you space to see yourselves." The light in the sky changed, now showing memories' wars. The Council started treaties, broken empires built on silence, but it also showed kindness. Moments when unity was possible, moments that were ignored, then the voice returned. We built the Sentinels not to fight, but to hold the line between noise and truth. You saw silence as weakness, but silence was patience. Across the galaxy, people listened. Some wept, some raged, some simply sat and heard, because the silence wasn't just a message, it was a mirror showing every choice made, every word ignored, and still. Earth hadn't punished it, had only watched the voice returned one last time. "We are not your enemy, we are not your gods, we are your reflection, and now we choose to speak." The sky darkened. Then lit with stars that weren't mapped, new coordinates, new worlds' gifts left behind. Knowledge, power, but only for those willing to listen, and with that the voice ended, the light faded, the Sentinels powered down, Earth was quiet again. But this time it was different, because now everyone knew silence wasn't the absence of sound. It was the presence of choice. Earth had never left it, had grown above war, beyond fear, into something the galaxy couldn't define, but would never forget, and in that silence, hope began, not forced, not demanded, but earned, one whisper at a time.